Welcome into 5 Wide. Today previewing the NFC Wild Card Round in the NFL playoffs. We get into 4 of my favorite plays for this week. If you guys didn't get to check out the AFC video, that is as well on the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Go check that thing out. If you enjoyed today's video, get some value, hit that like button. I don't love the plays as much in these NFC games as I do in the AFC. AFC had, I think, 5 plays and felt really good about some sides as well in this one. In those games, here I've got one side and a few player props for you. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. We'll start here with the Cowboys and the Packers. What we'll be doing is I'll break down a little bit of these games and then get into my favorite plays. This particular game, I've really struggled with what side I'd be looking to take or total or how to play this game, so I have one player prop. But quickly on the game, I think there's a few different trends you can look at when it comes to who you want to play. You know, the Cowboys, a perfect 8-0 at home, covering by an average margin of 12 points. They're just a completely different team at home than on the road. You've got a Packers team that I talked about this trend in a previous video of teams that had something to play for or had to play to get into the playoffs in Week 18 against teams that had already had their spot in the playoff clinch prior to the last week of the season. Those teams that had something to play for in Week 18 are actually 14-5 against the spread. So they actually come in really ready to play and prepared. So that's something to go to the Packers side. But again, rookie quarterbacks making their first start in the postseason are 17-36. So that's not good for Jordan Love and the Packers. I've struggled here because the Packers' run defense is a major problem. Cowboys can't run the ball. They're a very one-dimensional team. That makes the game plan relatively easy for this Packers team, but the defense very underserved. Then you look at the Cowboys defensively, really good unit, but I mean, in some of these games against higher-level opponents, don't look nearly as good. If they force some turnovers, which Jordan Love is capable of, I do think they can cover. I lean the Cowboys, but not enough for me to want to bet it. So what am I going with in this game? Well, I'm going to Brandon Cooks to score an anytime touchdown. The reason I'm going to this, I found a very, very good price. I would only play this if you have a FanDuel account or if you're in a legal gambling state where FanDuel is available, because their price is crazy on this one. I played this at plus 240 yesterday. It's plus 220 right now, but the best price you can find at any other book is plus 187, 188. So this is a fantastic price. And if you look at Cooks at home, like this Cowboys team, fantastic to scoring a touchdown at home. He scored in 5 of 7 home games that he's played this year. He's also scored just in 3 straight games as well. We get a game total at 50.5. It's actually juiced towards the over. So it's the second highest game total by just a point less than the Lions-Rams game. It's 50.5. Lions-Rams at 51.5. So they're expecting points in this game. Cooks, I think, is going to be a major beneficiary there because I talked about the Cowboys' struggles in their rushing attack. Well, that lends itself to the passing game when this team gets into the red zone because they've really struggled with Tony Pollard of converting touchdown opportunities inside the 5 and in goal-to-go situations. So they need to throw the football a little bit more. Lamb, of course, will be a focus for the Packers defense. I would expect Jair Alexander to be falling all over the field, and that could open up some opportunities for Cooks as well, but he's been money in the red zone, money scoring touchdowns, so I'm not afraid to go back to him at a great price at plus 200. You're talking about 3-1 odds on him to score. I think that does not make any sense with how many touchdowns they're projecting in this game. So love that. Cooks anytime touchdown. Now we move to Rams at the Lions. This game is going to be a ton of fun. This is another game, though, I really struggling at who I want to go with on the side, who's going to cover the spread. This is a 3-point spread here. So what I'm going to be going to is Cooper Kupp over 68.5 receiving yards. So before I get into Kupp and the details here, I want to talk a little bit about this game, what to expect. You've got a Lions team that I talked about this in the video when we covered one reason why every NFL playoff team won't win the Super Bowl. The Lions' pass defense is atrocious, and when your pass defense is this bad, you can lose to just about anybody. And Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, this passing game has been on fire. Honestly, the entire offense has been on fire to be able to go head-to-head with this Lions team. The reason I don't want to play the Rams, I'm really close to playing the Rams getting 3 points on the road. The reason I'm not is the defense has been pretty serviceable all season, but I just don't think has much of an identity when it comes to, hey, this is what they do really well. Hey, this is where you're going to see some deficiencies. I really don't know where that is. So I think the Rams are live in this game to win it, but I'm not quite willing to play it and give it out as a pick here on the show. Maybe I add it later. Maybe I just take a flyer on their money line or throw them in a parlay with this Cooper Kupp play. But the matchup here is interesting because, again, you're looking at a Rams team that can definitely take advantage of the Lions' biggest weakness on the defensive side. But why do I like Cooper Kupp? Well, it's because of that defense from the Lions. But let's get into some of these details. Kupp has only gone over this in 4 of 12 games this year, so definitely not something that gets you too excited. That's 33% of his games and just 2 of his last 10 as well. But slot slot receivers have absolutely killed the Lions this season. So I'm going to go to some of the more recent games here. There's a couple that are missing, but the couple that I don't mention are more games where you're looking at guys who aren't pure slot receivers, or there's a couple games, Jaden Reed went, I have him over in one, but he went slightly under in another. But here's some of these games. CeeDee Lamb, 227 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 74 yards. Darnell Mooney, who quite frankly, isn't someone who piles up much from the receiving game, 44 yards. Chris Olave, 119 yards. Keenan Allen, 175 yards. Mark Andrews, he is a tight end, but he runs vast majority of his yards from the slot, 63 yards. Chris Godwin, early in the season, he wasn't doing much of anything, 77 yards against the Lions. Adam Thielen, 107, and I mentioned Jaden Reed, 55. So these slot guys are demolishing them. And when you look at what Cooper Kupp does well, zone coverage. The Lions play a lot of zone coverage this year, and that's where Cooper Kupp has thrived. His 2.23 yards per route run is 24th amongst all wide receivers. He's got an 86.1% catch rate as well, and over 61% of his production has come against zone this year. So that's exactly what you want to see for Kupp. Man coverage is where he struggled. The catch rate is below 50%. Zone is where he thrives. But mentioned the yards per route run is also yards per reception is like over, I think it's about 14.5, which is much better than it is against man. So he actually has been pretty productive with his receptions, because I thought about just playing his receptions because of the passing volume you probably see in this game from the Rams. But I like the yards more because I do think he can do a little bit here with these receptions in terms of putting up a higher yardage total. Now, Detroit, I mentioned, pass defense is horrible. 30th in EPA against the pass, 7.8 yards per attempt, which is second last in the league, 31st. But the other thing that points me in towards going to these receivers is not just the pass defense is bad, the run defense is good. They're going up just 3.7 yards per carry, which is third in the NFL, and they're ninth in opponent EPA per rush. So if the Lions or if the Rams want to win this game, it's going to be leaning on their passing attack, not leaning on Kyren Williams in the ground game. And who's going to benefit more from that than Cooper Kupp? I think he'll benefit the most in this game. I think he's the guy that's live to put up the most receiving yards in this game. Nakua's been great against zone as well, but this is for Nakua, both man and zone, he's been pretty good against. Kupp, it's very clear that he's much better against zone than man. His yards per route run is doubled against zone than it is against man. So over 68.5 for Cooper Kupp is my favorite play in this game. Last game of the weekend, shouldn't even call it the weekend, Monday night. Love a Monday night game. Bucs at home against the Eagles. I love the Bucs here, +3. So make sure you're getting the field goal in this game. There's a lot to get into for this one. I'm getting the vibes from the Eagles that I got from the Bucs last year, where this team is telling you who they are, and you need to start believing it, because this has been a massive sample size now of the Eagles playing some terrible football. But first off, the Bucs hold the injury advantage here. Which is great, because the Bucs have been dealing with injuries, especially in their defense, all season long. They're getting healthy now. The only guy they have, of course, which is a big piece, dealing with injury is Baker Mayfield with the ankle and rib injury. That is definitely a problem. But you look at the Eagles, Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown have not practiced this week. Neither is A.J. Brown as well. We have Devontae Smith practicing, Darius Slay practicing, but of course holding injury tags. What percentage of health is Devontae Smith at? Because a sprained ankle can be something that you can play through, but how healthy are you, and how capable are you of performing? Now, for A.J. Brown, I don't know if he's going to play. I would think he's probably going to make every effort to play, but who knows? Now, the Bucs defensively. This is where I feel there's some real concern. The Bucs defense is going to put a lot of pressure on your quarterback. That's what they do. They blitz a ton. 40% blitz rate, which is the third highest in the league. So now, how does Jalen Hurts do against the blitz? How does he do this season? Well, 62.6% completion percentage, 21st. 7.1 yards per attempt, 22nd. 8 interceptions, the most in the NFL. He's thrown the most interceptions against the blitz of any quarterback in the league this season. He ranks 29th in passer rating. So numbers aren't absolutely atrocious, because there's about 40 or so qualified quarterbacks, but none of them are done at even a good level. They're all at the very least a average level or a troubling level. So you're looking at as well at the potential absence of A.J. Brown, and Brown is the go-to guy for Hurts when opponents are blitzing. He has 22 more targets than the next closest player when it comes to his performance against the blitz. This is his crutch. You're looking at Brown. You're looking at also a banged-up Devontae Smith. When you get into these situations where you need to get the ball out quickly, and when you're under that pressure, these are the go-to guys. If you're looking at guys with less talent than these two, or these two guys having far less capability with their injuries to be able to perform, I think that's a major problem. So I'm very concerned with what they're going to be able to do offensively. And then you look at the Eagles defense, which has been a problem all season. Against this Bucs team, the Eagles pass rush has been pretty underwhelming, which I think should really help Baker Mayfield, who of course is dealing with those injuries. If he's under a little bit less pressure, if he's able to get the ball out or have a little bit more time to get the ball out, that should benefit him. Eagles are 17th in pressure rate, 24th in sack rate. The pass rush has not been as good, anywhere near as good as the team it was last season. And the passing game can definitely find success. The Eagles are 21st in EPA against the pass. And the run defense is just taking a complete nosedive, falling off a cliff. 31st in EPA against the run, 4.3 yards per carry given up, 21st in the NFL. Look, the Eagles have played like shit for weeks. And against blitz-heavy teams, they're 1-3 against the spread. They did not cover against the Giants in both games. They did not cover against the Vikings earlier this season. They did cover against the Bucs, but that was, September these two teams played? This is not the same Eagles team. I like the Bucs to cover, getting 3 points at home in this game. In my last play, we're going to Mike Evans over 66.5 receiving yards. I mentioned this matchup, how I feel about it, so let me just get very simple with this one. So Evans in the matchup with the Eagles earlier this season only had 60 yards in that game, but he has gone over in 5 straight home games, and he's over in 6 of 8 home games this year. So at home, he's definitely been super productive. This offense has been far more productive at home. And for Evans, man coverage is where he thrives. Has not seen a lot of it this year because of the fact that I think a lot of people know how good he is against man, but Matt Patricia, coaching the defense for the Eagles play some of the most man coverage in the entire NFL, so I would expect he's going to be seeing a good amount of it in this game. He scored 5 touchdowns against man coverage this year, and he's got a 2.85 yards per route run against man coverage, which is 14th in the NFL. So perfect matchup for Evans. Again, I think that leaning on the pass game will be probably the result here for the Bucs. Their rushing offense with Rachaad White has not been great this year, so Evans should be a massive beneficiary, should see a significant target share, and I would expect him to put up some big plays, which the Eagles have been giving up at nauseum over the last 7-8 weeks. So give me Mike Evans over 66.5 receiving yards. Okay, those are my favorite plays for the NFC Wild Card Round of the NFL playoffs. Again, we're going here with the Bucs +3, Mike Evans over 66.5 receiving yards. Brandon Cooks anytime touchdown, I'll be playing that for about a half unit. And then as well, I'm going to Cooper Kupp over 68.5 receiving yards. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, got some value from this, learned something about these games, would appreciate it if you did hit that like button. And of course, subscribe to the channel too. We're going to have plenty more NFL playoff content coming to you guys all the way up until the Super Bowl. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.